Hi class, how are you? This is Steve reporting to you via video presentation. Thank you for your patience. I'm reporting with Team 4 on CAFTA, and my topics are the 5 recommendations that I have for CAFTA, in addition to trade issues that a company can be aware of in order to be most effective. Now, the first topic I'm covering in the recommendations are involving tariffs and quotas. Now, international trade, it's regulated through a set of rules that the world government has created over many, many years. Um, in general, poor countries don't have access to markets in developed countries because of trade barriers and agricultural subsidies. Now, trade barriers make it difficult for poor countries to sell products abroad and improve living conditions back home. Now, governments of those countries involved in CAFTA must carefully monitor the money that is granted to producers. Now, when governments provide producers with extra money, which are subsidies, the producers tend to take advantage by selling their goods at a much lower price than they're really worth on the market to make extra pocket money. So the problem is, in specific, continues to mount in the agricultural industry more than anything else. So by placing tariffs and import quotas on foreign products, governments try to make those products more expensive for domestic consumers to prevent the shady behavior. My next recommendation is titled Waiting Out the Storm. And basically what that means is during the economic hardship, the American government's decisions will be carefully scrutinized, and this will happen heavily and often. The American people want to see progress, and they want to see it soon. Unfortunately, a lot of times with these big agreements such as CAFTA, which was signed August 2nd, 2005 by President Bush, it's a long-term trade agreement. Now, these agreements, such as CAFTA, basically they're working for the long term. It's over the long haul. We can't expect drastic improvements quickly. It's great if it happens, but it might necessarily not. So it takes time to develop and mold it into a lucrative decision. And as America continues to battle the economic backup, the government must stand strong in its decision on CAFTA and not waver. And make a harsh, drastic decision, basically to make the American people feel more at ease. Now, after signing this agreement, we expect it to work eventually, but we all have to realize that it's in the long term. Next, I'll be discussing developing adequate infrastructure in Central American companies that we're doing business with. Now, although these Central American trading partners claim to recognize the importance of protecting their environment, unfortunately they have yet to develop any kind of sewage systems, wastewater treatment plants, or solid waste disposal systems. Now, these functions are necessary in a way that they mitigate the negative environmental impacts that are associated with export-led growth. Now, the United States should create some sort of environmental review of sanitation for all the countries involved in the trade agreement. And the reason why is because the United States can propose a step-by-step program for them in order for the environmental assessment improvement, which would encourage these countries to increase their sanitation issues. Now, this is important because it would definitely improve the view of consumers purchasing the products from them, who view their export growth systems with negative perception because they are so dirty and behind in the sanitation regulations. So basically they're, with no sanitation or wastewater or anything like that, they're importing us goods, and some people are afraid to get sick because they have bad sanitation. So the next recommendation I have is for the United States to report positive improvements and increases in economic productivity to the public to diminish the negative association that is with CAFTA. Now, there's a myth throughout the United States that CAFTA will be a disaster for the American economy. And so many people think that NAFTA, which was another trade agreement with Mexico and Canada a while back, was negative. But however, after the implementation of NAFTA, the U.S. economy has grown rapidly by providing millions of new jobs with expanding investments. Between 1993 and 2003, the U.S. economy added almost 18 million new jobs. They grew 38% and increased exports to Mexico and Canada from 134 billion to 250 billion. So they almost doubled their U.S. manufacturing. Their output rose 41%. So in the long, this NAFTA ended up panning out and in creating CAFTA, they had the similar expectation that over time it would increase U.S. and Central American production and the economies throughout free trade. Next, I'm going to be covering advising a company on trade issues and how to be most effective. Now, international trade is a major source of economic revenue for any nation that is considered a world power. Now, without international trade, nations would be limited to the goods and services produced within their own borders. So much trade goes on internationally nowadays. We take for granted all the things we have, but if you can imagine just receiving things from the United States and not getting anything else from any other country, it would really limit your goods and services. Now, it's typically more costly than domestic trade, and the reason this is because the border typically imposes additional costs, such as tariffs, time costs due to legal delays, and costs associated with country differences, such as language, the legal system, or a different culture. Now, an effective trade issue that a company should be aware of is explained in this thing called the Ricardian model. Now, the Ricardian model focuses on comparative advantage, and basically what it says is countries specialize in producing what they produce best. Now, in this model, it's suggested that in order to be most effective in trade issues as a company, you should fully produce what you produce best. So basically, use your niche to your best advantage and bring forth your best product in order to be most effective. Now, I'm going to cover some legal parts of the trade issues now that I think are very important for a company to be successful and that they have to watch out for. So, effective trade controls and enforcement is essential between countries conducting business. Now, trade controls are important for a country to prevent trade in prohibited and harmful goods such as drugs, unlicensed firearms, fake pharmaceuticals, endangered animal species, so on and so forth. Now, it's a daunting task, but the role of trade and customs enforcement agencies are to ensure that traders comply with the country's trade laws while at the same time facilitating the smooth traffic of goods within the country. Now, this is an ongoing battle, and it's going to continue to be an ongoing battle, so we have to do the best we can. Now, another important trade factor of effective trade issues is risk management and trade facilitation. Now, it's unpractical to check and approve every good imported to the country. Now, the solution, therefore, most likely lies in adopting a method which allows authorities to identify which transactions need the most attention, where their head should be focused at most. Now, this allows efforts and limited resources to be focused where they have the greatest impact. It's important for authorities to be aware of the country's trade patterns and factors that can influence trade flow. Each country's risk management system should have trade enforcement agencies in place to monitor and support customs. So a trade monitoring system, basically what it does is it keeps track of other countries' trading patterns and determines in various changes such as bilateral trade volume, changes in composition of imports and exports in totality. So they're trying to foresee potential problems and risks and eliminate them before they occur. Now, the last but not least, it's important to distinguish fraudulent traders from uninformed traders. Now, human error is always going to be a factor in trade issues, so it's very important to inform and train the clients with whom you are conducting your trading to help eliminate human mistakes, which can be due to misinformed information. Now, there might be some honest human mistakes, there might be some plotted mistakes that are said, oh, we made a human mistake when they had it planned out the entire time. So the reason you do this is educate and provide feedback to the traders that you're trading with. And another way is to develop rules and procedures in direct consultation with them so that all parties involved develop the same level of understanding and ownership for the rules and regulations that you expect them to follow. Thank you for your time, guys. Take care, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.